Hello, everyone. I'm back, and today I thought I would go over the remaining major free agents and where I think they'll sign, my predictions for where they'll sign. I'm doing this a bit soon after my last video just because I wanted to get in front of the major signings just so I can be ahead of these signings to see if I'm right or not. Well, I'm just going to get right into it. I know my last video ran a bit long, so I apologize. So I'm going to try to make this one quick. I'm going to give some reasoning. Got the magnets here. All right, so I'm going to start off with the big ones. First off, my prediction for where I think Freddie Freeman will sign is the Tampa Bay Rays. I think they had made an offer to him before the lockout had started. They've got a hole at first base. They don't have a big payroll, so getting him could boost that team more than it already is at. And I think him being there to have some more offense could really boost that team to deep playoff contention. So I think that's where he'll go. Next up, I believe that Carlos Correa will stay with the Houston Astros. I think it's been clear that they're making more of a push to keep him right now, and they want to have him. They want him to be part of their team. I think that's a smart decision if they want to keep contending. I know in my last video I said I think it's right for them to sell off all their players, but if they want to still contend, signing him to a one-year deal might not be the worst idea. So I think he'll stay there. I think he probably likes it there. He's had success there, so I think he'll stay. Next up, Kris Bryant. I think Kris Bryant will sign with the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are a team that has a lot of young players, but they don't have a whole ton of, more older players. And getting Kris Bryant could help that offense a lot. They don't have a great spot at third base. They could put him in the outfield if they want. I think he could really fit with that team and become a piece that they need to succeed more in the future. Next up, Trevor Story. I have Trevor Story going to the Philadelphia Phillies. I think that he fits there. I think they don't have a very consistent spot at shortstop. Obviously, they need to improve the offense. They just lost Andrew McCutchen to the Brewers. If they really want to compete and they really want to be a playoff team, getting Trevor Story could really help them get there. And I think obviously that's not the only thing they need, but he could really help them get there and help them move forward with their plans. Number 5, Nick Castellanos. I think Nick Castellanos will sign with the Miami Marlins. Goodness. Sorry. So I think he just makes sense there. Obviously, the Reds are kind of having a fire sale, and Nick Castellanos, I don't see them signing him back. I don't think they're making a playoff push anymore. I think right now they're just trying to get prospects and make the future as best they can. So I think if the Marlins, in opposition to that, if the Marlins are trying their best to succeed now, getting a big offensive bat for the outfield could really help that. They've got a good team. They've got the beginnings of a really competitive team in the next 5 years. And getting a player like Nick Castellanos could move that window up several years. So I think he makes sense there. Next up, Kenley Jansen. I have Kenley Jansen signing with the Texas Rangers. I think the Dodgers are going to probably not make an offer for Kenley Jansen. If they do, I don't think it's going to be for very much. I think they want to move forward and they want to get new pieces for their bullpen, and he's not really going to give them that. He's getting up there in age. He's still good. Don't get me wrong there, but I think he's, obviously less valuable than he was several years ago. So I think they'll probably let him go. And I think him signing with the Texas Rangers makes sense. You've got Corey Seager there. They were teammates. The Rangers have proven that they want to spend big this offseason and they want to make a push. Kenley Jansen could really help the bullpen side of things. Next up, this one was tough, but I have Anthony Rizzo signing with the Washington Nationals. And I know what you're thinking, they already have Josh Bell. 2 things. 1, designated hitter, and 2, the Minnesota Twins. So starting off with a designated hitter, if they really want to keep both of them, they could move one of them to designated hitter. They could have Josh Bell be the DH. The other one, it has been reported, and I think it makes sense that the Twins trade for Josh Bell. And if they do want to do that, or if the Nationals just trade Josh Bell anywhere, they will have a hole at first base. They lost Ryan Zimmerman. And so I think having a player like Anthony Rizzo, who's experienced, who's still fairly good, but isn't going to cost too much, will help a team that's kind of iffy right now. Next up, Michael Conforto. I know there's been a lot of rumors about him signing with the San Diego Padres, but I have him with the San Francisco Giants. I think the Giants need a little bit of help in the outfield. They've got Mike Yastrzemski, but that's kind of it. They've got a couple young players out there, but having a more consistent player and a left-handed bat, that could really just help him. I could see him hitting bombs into the bay. I think he fits there. And I doubt the Mets are going to re-sign him. I don't think they have the budget space for that. So I think he's going there. Next up, Kyle Schwarber. This one's kind of boring, but I also see him going back to the Boston Red Sox. I think the Red Sox are a team right now that needs him. I think it makes sense for them to make a push to keep him. I don't know who they would turn to if not for Kyle Schwarber. And I think that's the easiest route for them. He's been fairly good with them. They've had a hole at first base for a couple of years since Ortiz retired, and Mitch Moreland was okay, and then he went over to the Padres. I think it makes sense to have him there, so I think he'll stay there. Next up, Seiya Suzuki. I think Seiya Suzuki will end up signing with the San Diego Padres. I think he is what they need right now. Obviously, they had very high expectations going into last year, and they floundered pretty much every level. And I think if they get a new up-and-coming star for the major leagues in Seiya Suzuki, they have a fairly inconsistent outfield. They've got Trent Grisham, but putting him out there in left field, maybe, that would boost that lineup even more if they're able to stay more consistent than they were last year. Playoff team, even more than they already are. So I think it makes sense for him to go there. Next up, Michael Pineda. I have Michael Pineda signing with the Seattle Mariners. I think the Mariners, it's clear that they want to make a push. They went out and got Robbie Ray. They traded for Eugenio Suarez and Jesse Winker earlier today. They got Adam Frazier. They're making moves because they had a good season last year, and I think they want to keep having good years. So if they really want to keep that up, getting a fairly consistent pitcher like Michael Pineda, I believe he was on the Mariners early in his career, reunited, but, I think having him like that, maybe 2 spot in the rotation, if Robbie Ray doesn't do good, maybe you can move him up to the 1 spot, but I think he would help that team a lot, and I think that's what they're looking for in a player. Zack Greinke. I think he'll sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I think they'll put him in the bullpen. Their rotation is already so full and full of talent that it's not going to make sense for him to be there, but he could really benefit younger players like Julio Urias, Walker Buehler, and he's a decent pitcher. He's not bad on any level. So I think having him in that maybe long relief spot would not only benefit the team, but benefit the clubhouse. Having a reunion with him in the Dodgers, I think that makes sense. Next up, Colin McHugh. I see him signing with the Milwaukee Brewers. The Milwaukee Brewers have Devin Williams and Josh Hader. Those are the big pieces in their bullpen. And if they want to bolster that and they want to make that even more strong, Colin McHugh is who I think would fit best there. I think getting a pitcher like him to become more of a controlled pitcher. Josh Hader and Devin Williams are very fast, movement, not a lot of control. But Colin McHugh could be more of a balanced pitcher for them and help that team if they want to make the playoffs, help them get there. Next up, Danny Duffy. I see Danny Duffy signing with the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs were not able to get Carlos Rodon, and I think they still need pitching. I mean, you can't run a team on Kyle Hendricks. If they want to stay fairly good, I think getting Danny Duffy could help that. I mean, he'll probably put up a 3.8 to 4 ERA. You know, he'll be okay. He probably won't cost too much. And I think it just makes sense for the Cubs to go out and get something like that. Next up, Jorge Soler. In my last video, I talked about how the Mets need offense. So, I have Jorge Soler going to the Mets. I think putting him maybe just on the bench, you know, having him in that lineup, if they need him in that lineup, putting him there. He can hit bombs. If he's healthy and he's consistent, he can be a very important player. And to a team that has struggled with offense in the past, I think he could help them out, and he wouldn't cost that much. Next up, Eddie Rosario. I have Eddie Rosario signing with the Angels. The Angels have been in kind of a, are they competing, are they not competing moment for a while, and I don't think getting Eddie Rosario will really solidify them as a competitive team in any way, but I think it'll help them get there. A consistent lefty bat, you know, you could stick him in the outfield. You know, I think that would help that team. I mean, they're waiting for Joe Adell to kind of perform and become more of a starter, and they've got Trout out there, and that's kind of it. I mean, you've got Justin Upton, but putting Eddie Rosario out there maybe in right field or DH, I think that makes sense. Next up, Tommy Pham. I have Tommy Pham signing with the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians are a team that are going into kind of a rebuild phase, but not really. I don't really know what they're doing. But I think getting a player like Tommy Pham could add consistency to their lineup. It could give them an outfielder if they need one. You know, obviously he struggled with consistency last year, but I think he'll bounce back. I mean, he was sliced open in the back, so I think he's got an excuse. But I think, you know, if they're able to get him to maybe a 1-2 year deal, you know, probably $2 million a year, that's what I see him as being worth. I think that would only benefit them. And I think they need cheap options and cheap players, and I think he'll give them that. And the last player on my list today, Joc Pederson. I have Joc Pederson signing with the New York Yankees. The Yankees need left-handed batters. And as you can see, I've predicted they lose Anthony Rizzo. I also don't think they'll get Freddie Freeman. They didn't get it, Matt Olson. So I imagine they'll keep Luke Voigt, or they'll trade him. So I don't think they're going to go out and sign a big first baseman. But I think getting Joc Pederson for the outfield, you know, obviously they've got a really crowded outfield, but maybe DH, you know, on the bench, just a player that could come into the game maybe as a, you know, as a platoon guy that comes in every now and then, 80, 82 games a year. You know, I think he's got vibrant energy, and I think he could bring that to the Yankees. And I think they need something like that in their lineup. They need a powerful left-handed batter. So that is my final list of the remaining free agency predictions. I'm sure I will probably get none of these right, maybe one or two, but I think they make sense in my mind. If you disagree, I'm not going to argue with you. You know, I found this fun. I found it fun to research this and try and figure out where I think people will go. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see where these people sign. No one knows. All right. Bye.